Metaphysical Poets, John Donne, to his mistress going to bed. Summary and analysis. Hello and welcome to the discourse. The Jacobean and Caroline era is known for the emergence of metaphysical poetry. The term metaphysics simply means of or related to transcendence or to a reality that is not perceptible to the senses. Often it appears abstract or highly obtuse, yet it suggests high intellectual learning. Metaphysical generally means of or related to poetry that is highly intellectual and philosophical and marked with unconventional use of figurative language. Why is Donne called a metaphysical poet? Metaphysical poetry does not necessarily mean spiritual or religious poetry, and it may also include love poems, sensual poems, songs, sonnets, epigrams, elegies, and so on. As is evident with the vast work of John Donne, the preeminent representative of metaphysical poets. John Donne's poetry often contained abrupt openings and various paradoxes, ironies, and dislocations. John Dryden commented on the poetry of John Donne as metaphysical poetry in 1693 as he affects the metaphysics not only in his satires but in his amorous verses. Later on, Samuel Johnson termed Donne as the preeminent representative of metaphysical poets. In 1781, Robert Browning and Samuel T. Coleridge described John Donne as a romantic poet, but in the 20th century, T.S. Eliot portrayed John Donne as an anti-romantic poet. The five basic characters of metaphysical poetry are great learning, new thoughts and expressions, obscurity, wit, and conceit. John Donne was born on 22nd January 1572 and he died on 31st March 1631. He attended Hart Hall, Oxford, and was also admitted to the University of Cambridge, where he spent 3 years. He failed to attain a degree from either of the institutes because he belonged to a recusant Catholic family. He was a Catholic who denied having any allegiance with the Anglican Church. Thus, he refused to take the oath of supremacy and was denied any degree. Later in life, he began doubting his Catholic beliefs and adhered with the Anglican Church. Yet he was a learned man. He extensively traveled on the sea and fought for Sir Walter Raleigh. So he had a lot of experience along with learning, which was shown in his poetry. Donne's poem often suggests an antithesis between natural and divine knowledge. He often philosophizes death and mortality in his poems, which fill them with a certain macabre element. In Death, Be Not Proud, he hates death and curses. One short sleep past, we wake eternally, and death shall be no more, that thou shalt die. Donne's poetry shows a high class of intellectualism which is evident in most of his poetry, especially in the Canonization, The Flea, and Death Be Not Proud. In all of these, Donne experimented with new thoughts and expressions. John Donne's poems are full of vagueness and obscurity, with extreme use of personification, metaphors, and other figurative tools. In To His Mistress Going to Bed, a sensual poem, he refers to his beloved as America. O my America, my newfound land, my kingdom, safeliest when one man manned. Donne's poem exemplifies his wit. He successfully entangles sensuality, love, philosophy, spirituality, and sentiments in his words. Batter My Heart and The Flea are prime examples of Donne's wit. Conceit is a primary feature of John Donne's poetry. Conceit means an ingenious or fanciful comparison. At one place, Donne compares his beloved with America, a new word. At another, in The Flea, a flea becomes the marriage bed of the poet and his beloved. This flea is you and I, and this our marriage bed and marriage temple is. Donne's romance, love, and sensuality are also full of intellect and spirituality, which suggests that he is a metaphysical poet in the true sense. Metaphysical poets are also known as Baroque poets. To His Mistress Going to Bed. This is Elegy 19th of the posthumous poem collection of John Donne, which was titled Poems and was published in 1633. This particular poem was not added to the collection in 1633 because of its excessively erotic nature, but was later added to the anthology in 1654. It is one of Donne's love poems in which Donne depicts a speaker straightforwardly suggesting his beloved to remove her clothes one by one and be in bed with him while he has removed his clothes and is erect in anticipation. The speaker is authoritative and dominating, demanding his lover to submit herself to him in love. John Donne wrote this poem in one long stanza of 48 lines in iambic pentameter. The lines are composed in rhyming couplets. In the beginning, the poet urges his beloved to disrobe herself by removing each cloth she is wearing one by one. He cajoles her and suggests that there is nothing for her to be ashamed of. His beloved seems to hear him as she begins removing her cloth one piece at a time. The poet clearly suggests that he wants to sleep with her but stresses that his main motive is to lay claim on her body. He compares her body with the newly found land of America and suggests that he is her king. She is his kingdom. He continues to convince her to be in his bed. The poem concludes with the poet offering the final reason that he is a man and he is undressed. Being a woman, she has no reason to remain dressed. John Donne Elegy 19th was influenced by elegies of Ovid, which often depicted a male lover's pursuit of his beloved woman. He mixes it with Petrarchan poetic conventions, suggesting despair, desperation, and heartache because of unattainable love. His poem is totally against the other love sonnets of that time. To his mistress going to bed is thus an early example of libertine poetry. John Donne uses blazon in this poem. While blazon was often used by other poets to describe positive physical attributes or virtues and excellence of a female lover, Donne uses it to describe his lover erotically, urging her to disrobe herself. Edmund Spenser used blazon in Epithalamion, her goodly eyes like sapphires, shining bright, her forehead ivory white. Donne erotically uses blazon in lines 5-6, off with that girdle, like heaven's Joan glistening, but a fairer word encompassing. In these lines, he suggests that his beloved girdle, her undergarment, is like the sky, through which heaven's Joan is glistening, but it is encompassing and hiding a whole beautiful word that he wants to explore. Donne offers one finest example of metaphysical conceit in these lines as he compares a woman's undergarment with the whole sky. He compares her hidden body with heaven, the whole glistening world. In line 13 and 14, your gown going off such beauteous state reveals, as when from the flowery meads the hill's shadow steals. He compares her falling gown as the hill's shadow or the dark clouds covering the hillside and meadows. He compares her body with flowery meadow and her shape as shining hills. In line 18, Donne describes his beloved's beautiful hair and urges her to remove her coronet, tiara or wreath and let her long hair, hairy diadem, fall free. It suggests an image of relaxedness appropriate for the bedroom set. In lines 17 and 24, Donne uses allusion. Poet imagines that now his woman has removed her clothes and only her shoes are remaining. He urges her to remove her shoes and come to him in his bed. He compares his bed with an empty temple, hollowed temple, that will attain his deity as his beloved will reach his bed. He suggests that naked they will sleep under white robes, such robes that angels wear. He mentions Muhammad's paradise, a mythical place with hoors dedicated to pleasing men of that place. He further says that she is not doing any wrong by sleeping with him, as she is a good angel, not an evil spirit. He says that the evil spirits raise his hairs upright in fear, while the good ones, like her, erects his flesh. In lines 27 to 30, Donne uses wit and metaphysical conceit as he compares the body of his beloved with the newly found land of America. O my America, my new found land, my kingdom, safeliest when with one man manned, my mine of precious stones, my empire, how blessed am I in this discovering thee. In these lines, Donne compares sexual intercourse with exploration, adventure, that was common during the Elizabethan era. when America was discovered. He compared his beloved body with his kingdom as he is the king. These lines show the gender power dynamics of the Elizabethan era, suggesting masculine dominion. Yet he doesn't demean his beloved as she is the newly found land without which he couldn't be the king. In line 34, as souls unbodied, bodies unclothed must be. Donne uses Neoplatonism, suggesting transcendental love. He says that while his soul is attached with his beloveds, their physical erotic love making is also as necessary as their Platonic transcendental love. In lines 35-36, gems which you women use are like Atlanta's balls. Donne again uses allusion, mentioning the Greek mythology of huntress Atalanta, who told her father that she will only marry such a man who will defeat her in foot race. She was so agile that nobody could beat her. At last, Hippomenes competed with her, and to win the race, he threw some golden apples on the ground. Atalanta got busy grabbing those golden apples, and Hippomenes won the race and married her. The poet says that women use their physical attributes just like the golden apple. In lines 41-42, themselves are mystique books, which one only we, whom their imputed grace will dignify, must see revealed. The poet says that women are like mysterious books that are hard to grasp, but they should be accessible to learned men like him. In the end, the poet offers the reason that since he is naked, there is no reason for her beloved to remain clothed. So this was John Donne's poem to his mistress going to bed, which offers some fine examples of metaphysical conceit, wit, metaphors, allusions, obscurity, and new thoughts. We will continue to discuss some other important and noteworthy poems by John Donne. Please stay connected with the discourse. Thanks and regards.